Talk to him, yellow. 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 They told me talk to him, so that's what I'ma do. Give it to him raw. Yellow, spit that truth. Going hard with it. Watch what I'ma do. Let them know it's real. Homie, we talking shoot. They told me talk to him, so that's what I'ma do. Give it to him raw. Yellow, spit that truth. Going hard with it. Watch what I'ma do. Let them know it's real. Homie, we talking shoot. What's up, all my homies out there? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Shoot with Yellow Man. I'm your host, Yellow Man, and today I got a very, very, very special guest. A guy that means a lot to me. He's done a lot for me in my professional wrestling career. He is a legend, AIWF Hall of Famer, the Manaconda, the Mid-Atlantic Outlaw, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Matt Houston. Matt Houston, thank you for being my first legend. How are you doing? What's up with you, brother?
I'm doing well. I appreciate the term legend. And like you said, I've helped you a lot. I know you and I've had, quite a few matches. And I got to be honest with you, before we even jump into a lot of stuff, since we're talking shooting, we're shooting here. When you and I first met, you know, I didn't like you very much. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, I already know, brother.
And you know that you were in a bad spot. Just
Mhm.
because a lot of times we're a product of our environment, and you were hanging around with some of the wrong people. Um, but I'm glad to see you got your head on straight, and you've come a long, long way. And I want you to know I'm very proud of you, bro.
Hey man, that really means a lot. I'm telling you, man, I was talking about that earlier about how it took me so long because I was so hard headed and I wanted to do things my way and how it didn't get me anywhere. I was just now talking about that. So I'm glad you brought that up. And man, it means a lot to know that, you know, how I was now, a guy like you that I've always looked up to, regardless if I was being a pain in the rear end or not, sees my growth and you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that a lot, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm being honest. Like I said, the first time we worked, um, and we mentioned it briefly, before we came on air that I sure hope this kid can listen because we didn't talk about nothing in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And we had an okay match. The one
Mm-hmm.
we had in Montville was a whole lot better, I think. But again, it's because we had worked a few times, in between, and you knew me and my style, I knew you and your style, and we complimented each other. I don't think we've ever had a bad.
No. You know what's crazy about our first match? Our first match we had together, like, and I'm probably about to sound like a bit of a mizark, right? What I'm about to say, but like, I'd never seen, besides on TV or at one of the big live events, a real wrestler come out with the championship. And I was telling my buddies earlier, man, like you came out and you had this like Terry Funk look about you. And I think you were either AIWF Mid Atlantic Tag Champion or World Tag Champion, one of the two. But I like you gave me that look in the back, like go away. And we were so far away from each other. I didn't even get to introduce myself for nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so when I was already out there in the ring, like, and then you came out there and you just had this presence about you. And then you unzipped the jacket and I seen the belt and I was like, oh man, I'm in for it now. And that's the show. That's the show where you hooked me for the suplex and my foot went through the roof.
Right.
And then you looked at the crowd and was like, that's what I call raising the roof, brother. I'll never forget that, bro.
I know we talk about that all the time, man. It was so much fun. And I mean, again, think about how far you've come from there to now. And like I said earlier, I'm really proud of your progress, and I'm proud to call you my friend.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. I mean, and guys like you, man, y'all came in the hard way, the old school way, you had to earn that stuff, man. And I see why, like, you guys were not very, I can't say that y'all wasn't very nice, but y'all were protecting y'all's business. You know what I'm saying? Like guys like you and Drake Tungsten and the Chuck Kings and even Rick Diesel, you guys were trying to protect the business from a bunch of nonsense that me and my bunch thought was cool. And you know what I'm saying? Like, so now I understand that, and I appreciate what you guys did for me back then. Because if it wasn't for y'all, I would probably still be acting like that.
Right, right. But like I said, man, you've come a long way, and I'm really proud of your progress.
I appreciate that, man. So, what's up with Matt Houston? Like, I'm sure my homies know who you are, but all my new viewers and stuff like that, um, tell us a little bit about Matt Houston. We know you're in the AIWF Hall of Fame. We know that you've wrestled on big 3-letter companies. We know that, man, you've been around for shoot a long
Ever,
time.
ever.
Yeah, man.
Um,
So how'd your wrestling journey start?
well, of course, just like everybody else that ever really gets in the business, I was a huge fan. Grew up in here in the Mid Atlantic, so Jim Crockett Promotions was it. Uh, First time I ever went to a show, I was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years old. And my dad took me to the Greensboro Coliseum. I refused to call it the First Horizon Coliseum, by the way. It will always be the Greensboro Coliseum, doggone it.
Mm-hmm.
And the main event was Paul Jones and Baron Von Raschke
Mm,
against Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan.
mm.
Texas Tornado, and brother, they were all over the building. And right then, man, I mean, I was hooked. And my uncle knew a guy that, fast forward, to a guy that he knew a guy that was an independent wrestler, the Iron Chief. You may know Chief. Um, and he introduced me to Chief. Chief introduced me to Jerry Kennett, who at that time was wrestling as Condor Warlord. And that's basically where I started, like helping set up rings. They needed a ring announcer. Then I started refereeing. So I, kind of went through. Basically, I've done pretty much every job there is. I mean, I was freaking sold hot dogs in the concession stand. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's, and uh, we had a little wrestling school there in Selma, North Carolina, and C.W. Anderson was there, and he was working out, and for some reason he took a liking to me, and took me under his wing, and you I mean, Jerry and them taught me how to bump and how to how to do the moves. C-Dub kind of went a step further and said, okay, this is why you do it when you do it. He broke it down and taught, really taught me the psychology of wrestling. I had my very first match. It was a battle royal, Newport News, Virginia. Uh, Big Al Green, and who again used to work for WCW, tagged with Kevin Nash as one half of the Master Blasters, was on the show. Um, Bell rings. They jerk me in over the top rope. Al presses me and drops me on my feet over the top rope to the floor. That's how long I was
Mm.
in that. Um, so, but it was fun. I mean, I kind of got my feet wet. I got to work probably like 3 seconds with C-Dub and Roger Anderson, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. I'll get to that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but my first actual match, they did a lethal lottery type deal. I was working for the CCWA at the time, Carolina Championship Wrestling Alliance. And it was Selma, North Carolina, Selma Smithfield area. And it was me and Chris Bam Bam Stevenson. And I wore a mask. I was I wrestled as the Carolina Kid. Because they had me doing, still ringing outs and commentating and refereeing the whole deal against CW and Chief. And that was in March of 1994.
Mm.
So going up and down the roads, bumps and bruises, and CW and I traveled a whole lot together. We worked a lot together. Him and Pat Anderson were CCWA Tag Team Champions. So they put me with a random partner, and of course I was buck 50 soaking wet at that time. So it was easier for guys to hit the big moves on me, because I was smaller. And I went out there and I did my little speed deal and put them over like champs, and I always had a good time. Of course, there were some guys that you get in the ring with, and you're like, you know, um, but for the most part, I've been fortunate enough to really get in the ring with a lot of guys and learn a lot of stuff, in my 30 plus years of being in the wrestling business.
Man, that 30 plus years, man. Good Lord. And I mean, with that long in, I'm sure you've seen the business. I tell people all the time, they're like, man, wrestling this. I said the business changes every 5 years that I've seen.
Yes.
Like every 5 years, it's like a great reset. Something happens where the new age, comes in and does something different than it was 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right. But what's
So,
funny is, and me and Rick Diesel were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. What's old is new again.
yeah,
Because people, I think, I mean, if you eat steak every night, you're going to eventually get tired of steak. So,
right.
like you said, about every 5 years, we have a little reset, and something changes a little bit, and the style changes, but it always goes back to the original. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this. I mean, I grew up again on old school wrestling. I talk a little smack about some of the flippy stuff, but then again, I got the Anaconda Moonsault. But
I remember the first time I seen you do that. I was like, I ain't gonna lie, it kind of ticked me off a little bit because here you were telling me you don't need to do all that flippy stuff, kid. And then here you come with this split-legged type of move. I was like, it screwed me up because the Matt Houston that I seen wrestle, I would have never ever thought you did something like that. And then like you just hit it out of the blue, and I was like, I am so not happy right now with this guy. But
if y'all can notice, I didn't do it every match.
No, it was a big match. I know it was a big house too.
It had to be part of either a big house or part of a huge storyline that we were involved in. For me to pull that out, because I wanted it to mean something. If I did it every time, then people expected it.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's something else that I think a lot of guys forget is, everybody's got their move set. So when Bret Hart gets the guy in the backbreaker, and then his next spot's going to the second rope, dropping the elbow.
Mm-hmm.
Austin had the Thez press, punches, come off, drop the deal. I mean, everybody's kind of got their move set. Hogan with the block punch. He'd give you 3, shoot you in, bootleg drop. I mean, everybody's got their move set.
Yeah.
So, but if you mix it up every once in a while and you don't do that every time, then it makes it a little more interesting, in my opinion, because you're not doing the same thing every time.
Right. And you that way you stay fresh. Y'all taught me a long time ago, like, you don't need to do everything because you think you know how to do it. Like, what about the next match? You got to know. Y'all taught me that I had to learn my place, not only in the locker room, but in the ring, and my place on the card, and like
Right.
learning, like what y'all taught me, guys like you and Drake Tungsten and Roger Anderson and guys like you guys taught me that learning your place is very important. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate. Can you talk about that a little bit, like how that part of the business has changed and how guys how it's a different mindset nowadays?
Right. Yeah. Everybody wants to steal the show, and I get it. You want to showcase what you can do, so you can move up the card, bigger paydays. I understand that, but again, you got to know your place on the show. And Brad Stutz one time gave me the biggest compliment I think I've ever gotten as far as this case, where he said, Henry, well, Matt, I can plug you in anywhere on the card, and I know what I'm going to get. He can put me in the opening match, and I know how to work that. I know how to work the mid card. I know how to work the main event. When your job as and see, that's something else. Everybody wants to be the main event. Shoot, put me on first. Let me get done and get out there.
That's right.
That's right. That's something you learn when you're in there for a while too. But the opening match is to get the crowd fired up. Because that's the first impression of the card. If they've never been to see that particular promotion or what have you, if they've never been to wrestling before, that first match is the setting the standard. And so you don't want to go out there and do everything you know how to do, because then what's the rest of the card going to do? Again, Diesel said this the other day we were talking. In the first three matches, the fans have seen every single move there is to do. They've seen it done, differently or gone into different. So how is that fourth, fifth, and sixth match going to differ, from the first three? You can't just go out there and do the moves. You got to connect with those people somehow. Let's be honest. The world we live in sucks.
Yes.
Politics, everybody hating everybody.
Right.
And that's something that we need to relearn in this country. I can disagree with you and we can still be friends.
Right.
But that being said, people go to wrestling, in my opinion. I mean, of course they're fans, but people go to wrestling to forget about the outside world. They want to forget about their troubles for the 2.5, 3 hours, and just suspend their disbelief, because again, we all know the destination is the journey you take them on. What matters to the fans. And if you do everything in the opening match, how's the rest of the show going to follow that? And I know some guys have the attitude of, well, that's not my problem, but it is your problem if you don't know how to work the first match.
Absolutely. A lot of guys too, I think, got this idea that they need to get this FU heat, and you were just talking about that. Wrestling fans, they want to come and they want to get away and escape reality. They want to escape what bothers them at home and stuff. Like, they don't want to be reminded of it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these guys come out there and they think they got to get this kind of heat where they want to. The fans are waiting in the parking lot to kill them, like, for real. And I just never been the type to, like, when I got to be the villain for the night, I'm going to go out there and be the villain. That means I'm going to go get straight in the ring. I'm not going to insult the paying customers because I want them to come back. But I'm going to hit their hero a little bit harder. And I'm going to show, yeah, I'm hurting your boy. You was cheering for him and not me. And this is why this is happening. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I never want to go out there and insult people because, again, guys like you and them back in the day, if we would have did that, y'all would have straightened us out. And a lot of these guys nowadays don't have that. You know what I'm trying to say?
All right. I mean, you still got to work the people to a certain extent. But again, like you said, I mean, if a guy comes in and he's 400 pounds, you don't want to just go right to him and go, "Hey, fatty," because the man knows he's overweight, and he's probably been picked on it about it his whole life. So find somebody else to pick on. Don't go for the obvious, because in my opinion, cheap heat. And I mean, of course, people will get mad at you or whatever, but you're not going to get that long-term heat that you're looking for. That's really hard to get nowadays because everybody knows, the curtain's been pulled back and everybody knows.
Right.
And nowadays, if you make somebody mad, they just, okay, I just won't go there anymore. I'll go over here.
Yeah.
And and then you're costing the promoter money, which in turn is going to cost you money.
Yeah.
But if you find, don't single out one person. Pick on everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but at the same time, you can't really go overboard with it anymore like you used to.
Yeah. we definitely live in a sensitive, very offended generation.
Yeah, yes,
That's where I'll leave that at. You know what I'm saying?
that's right.
We come from a whole different background. Now, I was wondering, as a fan of the old school, like, what made you become the Manaconda, the Mid Atlantic Outlaw? What about, like, what originated your style, man? Because a lot of people try to do that, but it doesn't work the way that you and Lou did it. Shout out to Lou too. Love you, Lou.
I don't know. We just, yeah. Most of my career, I've been in tag teams. Um, I mean, I can work singles, but I prefer tag teams just because it's such a lost art. You know, um, me and Kurt Solo, the Unholy Empire, man, we we probably gel better than me and Lewis.
Mm.
As far as being on the same page and knowing what the other one was going to do. I mean, we were basically the Midnight Express. We were two guys working as one for the common goal, and that's probably work wise the best tag team partner that I've ever had.
Mm.
Then I had a couple of tag teams with a guy named Johnny Lightning. Shout out to Johnny. Uh, we did the Lone Star Connection where we did like a cowboy deal, and we also did the New Age Freebirds, which was pretty fun. And then that's where we met Lewis. Actually, brought Lewis in to be the third member, and then as things happened, we kind of fell apart. And then Lewis and I started tagging, then Drake and I started tagging. Lewis, I'll say this about Drake first. Since your question was about Lewis. Drake and I—that's probably the most fun I've had because Drake's a character.
Oh my God, yeah, I love Drake, man.
We love to cut up in the ring. Same with
Yeah.
Lightning was hilarious too. So as far as going in there and having fun and just acting a fool, me and Lightning, me and Drake, very good, it's fun times. Lewis and I think we're so different that it clicks. Not
Mhm.
really with the mentality because we're old school and but Lewis is like dead serious all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Now he's got a funny side, but once he comes through that curtain, that's cut off.
It takes a little bit for Lewis to warm up to you too. It
It
took me a
really
few
does.
years.
It really does. If he likes you, great. If he don't, you know that too.
He
But
always looked, you guys always protected me behind my back though. So that's what I found out about y'all. Even though I thought y'all were being mean to me and didn't like me, and you probably didn't, y'all were always looking out for me. And I found that out, man.
well, like I said at the onset of this, you were hanging with the wrong people. You had bad advice getting put into you. But I mean, we saw something in you. We were like, man, this kid can listen. This kid can work. We just got to get a crowbar and pry him away from those bad examples, and we think the kid will be okay. And when I'm not gonna say I've done that a lot. Like I said, with Johnny Lightning, he and I were wrestling for NWA Carolinas in Elkin, and we met this kid Corey Duncan. And God bless him, Corey couldn't work his way out of a wet paper bag, but it wasn't his fault. It was the training that he got. And Lightning saw something in the kid, and he was like, "Look, let's take him on the road with us." So, Corey would go out on the road with us, and before shows, we'd get him in the ring, and we'd work with him, and and eventually, and you've worked with Corey. Corey was good.
Corey was daggone good, man.
He was very good. And then, the matches that he had with Jimmy Parker, good night. You
Oh
know,
my goodness.
they were phenomenal. And when
Yeah.
Corey was tagging with Jesse Wyndham in Pure Pro, and me and Drake were feuding with them, me and Lewis were feuding with them. I mean, there was always great matches. Corey, again, was another one like you that just he was in the wrong environment, and but we saw potential, and he needed room to grow and to blossom, and he needed the tools to do that, and he did. And again, I'm not trying to take credit, for Corey's success, because I mean, how many times have you tried to take somebody under your wing and they just didn't get it, or they had a bad attitude or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Corey just needed the platform, and once we got him out of that bad environment and he was able to meet other people, man, that kid took off. And again, tremendous wrestler. I hate that he passed so early, man. What a tragic loss to the wrestling business and to humanity himself. Corey was a great kid.
Right.
But and it's things like that. Again, 30 plus years. Lewis is 20 plus years in at this point. You know, at some point you got to give back. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just take. You got to give back, because once we're gone, I mean, when we're gone, wrestling's still going to be going on.
Mm-hmm.
And who are we leaving behind to fill that void? And with guys like you, and I was talking to Aubrey Wright the other night. Man, Aubrey has come a long way since the first time I saw him as well.
Man, that's one of my favorite brothers in the business, man. Shout out to Aubrey.
I mean, I love me some Aubrey Wright, man. And Ivan Ali, Ivan's been working longer than Aubrey, and I didn't know that.
Yes, I first met him when he was getting back in the business because he had got hurt, and we were down at in Stewart Draft. Powers took me down there to Jason school, and that's where I met Ali when he was getting back in it, and he had already been working. I would say 5 or 6 years then. You know
Right?
what I mean? And those guys, they've looked out for me a lot too. You know what I mean? Shout
Yes.
out to Big Money, man. Like
All
for
right.
real.
And shout out to Jason, man. I met Jason when I was first getting in. Well, I was a few years ahead of him, but not much. And I've always liked him, man. He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was a real good coach for me too, because he knew I was hard headed. But he was familiar with that street stuff, so I couldn't work him like I was doing everybody else.
Right.
So yeah, shout out to Jason. But yeah, man, we were talking about tag team wrestling. A lot of the wrestling tag team matches I see now, it frustrates me because even when I was growing up and I was watching tag team matches, guys like Sting and Luger, because that's around my era, the Steiner brothers and
Yeah.
the Road Warriors, they had tag team matches. It wasn't none of this two singles matches in a tag team match. You know what
Yep.
I'm talking about there? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. A true tag team, again, like I said about me and Solo, me and Kurt. I mean, me and Lewis. Me and Lightning, me and Drake. Should work together to be a unit. And a lot of times now, guys, you just see two guys thrown together who have no chemistry. And you know, and let's just say for S&Gs, it's me and you against Aubrey and Ali. And let's just say Aubrey and Ali have never tagged before. Me and Aubrey might do something, and then we both tag, and you and Ali get in there and do something. So you're right. It's like two singles matches in a tag team environment,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no matching gear. There's no tag spots, no tag finishes. It's just let's get in here
It's
and go through the
odd.
motions and do our thing. And yeah, it is odd. And it's like I said, tag team wrestling is a lost art.
Oh yeah, man. I love me some good old. Some of my favorite, like now that I'm a student of the game and I go back and study, and I've heard you talk about him since I first started, was Beautiful Bobby. Like I've always heard you put over Beautiful Bobby, and I've always paid attention to that. And I paid attention to Beautiful Bobby so much when I was in college. I took my public speaking course. We all had a nickname. That's what they called me, Beautiful Bobby. And I always try to do like wear like midnight type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh
Shout
yeah,
out to those guys. But yeah, those guys like that, they did it in a way. Cornette talks about the way that they did it, man. And it's just different nowadays. You see guys just, they, like you said, they don't have matching gear. They don't, you wouldn't even know they were a tag team. They just look like two guys thrown together.
yep. And again, that's something I love about Big Money, the Dawson brothers, the Heat Seekers. Oh man, I'm trying to think of, because I had my last match, a year and a half ago, so I hadn't been around a whole lot of promotions. Uh, they Sons of Salem,
Mm-hmm.
when they were heavy, I mean, legit tag team.
Yeah.
The Brutes, uh, jeez, the Goon Squad, Roy Wilkins and Walter Eaton. You know, matching gear, two guys working as one to get the match over, put their opponents over, get themselves over. It's not rocket science.
Now, one of my favorite tag teams, and I always put this over, man, is you and Lou, of course, because you and Lou were my guys. First match I seen with Lou, we were in Johnson City, and he was in the main event with the Redneck Kid.
Yep.
That one of Sam's. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen, because the Redneck Kid wasn't on Lou's level. But Lou made that dude look like he was a big superstar out there that night. And the
Yes.
crowd was ready to kill Lou at the end of that match. But you guys were always it. And not long ago, I was watching a few years back, and I seen you guys have a big debut for Impact. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What happened there?
Yeah, we were working with ASW. By the way, I'm a Hall of Famer there too.
Right on. Gary
Two-time
and
Hall
them.
of Fame. Yeah, for
Is
Gary
that
Dameron.
Gary's crew?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
man.
Gary's
Shout out
crew.
to
And shout out
Gary.
to Gary, man. I love me some Gary Dameron. And let me sidetrack for just a moment. In the 30 plus years I've been in this business, I've met some good promoters. I've met some great promoters. I've met some garbage. Gary Dameron is tops, man. Gary has always put us in good matches. He's always listened to our ideas. He's always paid us, which
Yeah.
is a good thing, because some guys will just, take the money and run.
Yeah.
But Gary, man, Gary's top notch in my book. I love me some Gary Dameron. But he was doing a deal with Impact, where this is when Matt and Jeff were going around winning everybody's tag titles to be the greatest tag team in the history of the business and of all time and across time.
Yeah.
And so it was funny, Lewis and I had matching jackets, because we're a tag team. Hello. And they were hanging up in the back, and we were out, just schmoozing, talking to everybody. And Jeremy Barash found us, and he was like, "Are these y'all's jackets?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Man, well, we want to put y'all in on the show." But we weren't wrestling Matt and Jeff that night, so they had a deal where because we were the number one contenders, and Matt and Jeff basically came in and took our spot, to get the title match. So they just appeared in the building, doing that whole time leap gimmick, and claimed to be the number one contenders, and then we just come around the corner in our jackets and hey, not so fast, brother. You got to go through us. And then, the whole story went where they eventually won the titles. But we were on Impact for 2 weeks in a row. And see, I told Lewis, I said, man, we need to capitalize on that. But,
Yeah.
we didn't ever do it. But, because a lot of people will say, well, former WWE star, and they just, were they had a security spot on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we almost had Impact, as seen on Impact TV, but we did. But no, that was fun. That was a good opportunity we had. And I wish it could have gone further, because I would have loved for us to have worked on Impact. And since we're shooting, I've always thought that Lewis Moore had the tools. I felt like in a way though, because he's 10 years younger than I am, at least. So he's 12 years younger than I am. And I felt like I was kind of holding him back, being the old man. And, the Lewis has got way more talent than I do. I just know what to do with mine, you know what I'm saying? Where Lewis does too, but I'm just saying, I thought he had a shot to go somewhere, legitimately. And Lewis Moore has stuck by my side. He would not leave the tag team. And that has meant a lot to me over the years,
That's a true brother, man. That's for real.
That is. And, because I've seen it where, promotions wanted, one guy instead of the other. And, the one that they wanted would just take off and leave. And, but he never, I told him, dude, you need to go. You need to at least send a tape or tryout or something, and he's, no, I'm not leaving the tag team. And, that's always been a lot to me over the years.
That's a once in a lifetime thing, man. That's for real. Once you get a brother like that, money couldn't buy that kind of relationship. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like you said, man, guys will get an opportunity and forget all about the next guy. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's what when we were the old school mafia, it was me, Lewis, Drake Tungsten, Jimmy Love, and that wasn't a gimmick. That was four brothers that generally had each other's backs, that cared about each other. And I love those guys to this day.
Yeah, that's a big thing too about those guys. Like, especially for me, Jimmy Love, because you guys didn't have to care about me. And Jimmy did not have to care about me because you knew where I'd rather be, up the street doing something I ain't have no business doing. And
Right.
Jimmy was like, we're going to cut that out. But if you're doing something you ain't got no business doing, do it right here where I can see you so I can keep it in line. You know what I'm saying? Like, he tried to, it was more like a father figure type of thing with me and Jimmy, because he cared about me. It was deeper than wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I felt like you guys did too. Y'all probably didn't want to take me to work with you, but you knew I was that little annoying kid that wasn't going away. So you showed me how to conduct myself at work,
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate that. And you got anything to tell like these younger kids that might be looking up to Yellow Man about the importance of conducting yourself properly in the business?
Yes. God gave you two of these and one of these. So make sure you listen twice as much as you talk. If you ever decide you know it all and you can't learn nothing else, just get out of the business. Because, again, in 30 plus years, I'm still learning. And I've learned a lot from guys like, again, Gary has put us in tremendous matches. The NCWA, Lewis has put us in tremendous matches. We've wrestled everybody from the Rock and Roll Express to the Powers of Pain to the Faces of Fear to George South and Shane Douglas, and that's another guy I don't think gets enough credit as Shane Douglas. Tremendous amount of respect for Shane.
Mm-hmm.
Shane Helms. Gosh, when I first broke into business, Shane had been working maybe a year, and I know Shane gets a bad rap. When he was younger, he was cocky and had an attitude, and some people, still to this day may say he does. Just that's just Shane. You just got to get to know Shane, get through that rough exterior, and Shane Helms is a super nice guy. Shane's done a lot for me that a lot of people don't even know. And shout out to Shane. I love me some Hurricane, man.
Yeah. I found his action figure the other day and I had to buy it. I just had to get it. It was with Rosie, and I was like, that's mine. I got to get it.
That's right. Yes, Shane's good people. But something I learned when I was probably 4 or 5 years in, the same people that you talk junk about on your way up are going to be the same people that you meet on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And, it don't cost you a dime to be nice, to be respectful. And again, you might not like the person, but you can still be civil. Hey, man, how's it going? How's the family? Just be
Mm-hmm.
civil to each other. Quit being an idiot, because we all got to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, let's just keep each other safe. Go, entertain the people. Go to the house. Get paid. You know.
Big
Um,
facts.
but yeah, and again, a lot of people just. I'm not gonna say a lot, but some just don't understand that. They don't get the business. So
Yeah, I was telling. Oh yeah, by the way, you said you work for the NWA Carolinas. Our
but
buddy Jamie Tucker, you remember him?
I remember Jake.
Referee Jamie.
I
He told me
love
to
it.
give you some love, man, and say what's up, and he misses you, and he hopes to see you soon.
I tell you, I had seen Jamie in the NWA and on TNA, and I met Jamie through Drake Tungsten, and at one of the Chair City clashes, I booked Jamie, and it was Drake. I'm trying to remember who all was in the match. It was Drake, Aubrey, and crap, I don't remember. And I know they're going to be mad at me for not remembering, but I've slept since then. Um, it was Drake, Aubrey, and somebody against me, Lewis, and Cowboy Bob Orton.
Oh man, I think I
And
seen the flyer for that. I have that flyer somewhere.
and Jamie refereed that match. And honestly, I mean, you never knew Jamie was there, and that's the point of being a good referee is not being in the way, being where you're supposed to be. And we were talking, me and a couple guys were talking about this the other day too. You can't just throw a referee shirt on anybody and put them in the ring. The
Big
referee is
facts.
just as important as the wrestlers, because a referee can make a match or break a match,
Yes.
no matter how good the talent is. And we were talking about our favorite referees. I gotta give a shout out, Red Jones. Love me some Red
That's my
Jones.
dog, man. Shout out to Red.
You know, Ron Mills. Ron's a tremendous referee. I enjoy working with him. Jamie Tucker, again, another one. Patrick Purdue, man, I love me some Patrick.
Yeah, Patty was my
Great guy.
guy, man.
Um,
Rest in peace to my guy Joel too, man. Joel was a good one.
yes, Joel was a good one. Joel was really good. I enjoyed working with him as well. And while we're resting in peace, Rick Link, man.
Absolutely. That just gave me chills, man. Because man, for the longest, I did not think Rick Link liked me because he had this quiet, mean look on his face. But the last time I seen Rick Link, he hugged me for like 15 seconds and said,
Right?
"I'm so proud of you, kid." And bro, I was like, "It took you this long to give me a hug, Mr. Rick?" Yeah, man,
Well,
but
I got to
prayers
work
and
with
love
him.
goes out to his family.
Yes, yes. I got to work with him one time, and you're right. Rick just had this aura about him, and honestly, I mean, God, I'd been in. This was probably it was right before COVID, and we were supposed to work with each other, and I'm like, man, Rick's gonna eat my lunch. Good night. I was legit nervous
Mm-hmm.
getting in the ring with Rick, and and again, we didn't call nothing, and we get out there, and man, he was a true professional. Funny Rick Link story. I've got him in the little nerve hold gimmick, right? And I'm working it, and I'm working it. He had a Band-Aid on the back of his head. I mean, huge.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like the little bitty ones. It was like the big monster one, right?
Yeah.
And where he was sweating and bleeding, it had come loose. And this cat had a hole in his head that, I mean, you could probably put a quarter in.
Mm.
And if I found out after the match that it came from like a barbed wire match where the barbed wire just kind of dug in and ripped some of his head off. But
Oh.
I got him in the gimmick, right? And I'm looking around talking my trash, and I turn back and I see that hole. And I go, good Lord, right? And he starts laughing, right? Because he knew exactly what it was. He starts laughing. I said, "Brother, you got a hole in your head." And then he lost it. You know, but let's say but he was a true professional, man, light as a feather. I enjoyed working with him. And he's really underrated as well. You know, a lot of people just think he's the hardcore guy that like to bleed or whatever. But I mean, the man was in New Zealand. The man worked in Memphis. I mean, he beat Jerry Lawler. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And,
I didn't think he did more of that until he was an old man, the hardcore stuff.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I thought that's old man Rick Link.
When I was on Man Wrestling, people forget about the Memphis run, and they forget about the New Zealand run, and they forget about I mean, he worked for Crockett in '83, and there's footage of him wrestling Bob Orton before Bob turned heel, and they did that deal with Flair to set up Starcade. But Rick's been around a long time, and he's done a lot. Mad respect for Rick Lane.
There was nobody more terrifying than, I think, in my personal opinion, Nikita Koloff, Rick Link, and Abdullah the Butcher.
Oh
I
man,
don't think for me, my dad used to tell me he was gonna call the Russians, because when I was a kid, we had the tapes and stuff, and I was scared of the Russians because they always beat up my heroes, man. And like, my dad would get my uncle on the phone and he'd do the Nikita voice, and I'd take off, man. I'd be hiding and crying. And I told Nikita that, but the Mountain Man Link was terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, and as a fan, he was terrifying. If some of the boys were nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times with Rick. Chuck Coates as well, man. That one just come out of nowhere. And Chuck and I weren't as close as he was with Shane and Shane Helms and Mike Maverick and those guys. But man, Chuck was a great example of what a Christian man should be. Tremendous guy. I never heard anybody say a bad word about Chuck, which is rare in this business.
Right.
And so, shout out to Chuck and his wife Cynthia. Much love for her and the kids and the grandkids. Chuck left behind a legacy, and man, what a great guy he was.
Absolutely, man. Prayers goes out to all them families out there, man, because you never know, man. 1 minute we're all in a locker room laughing and cutting up or screaming down each other's throat or ready to kill each other. But it always hurts when we lose a brother or a sister, man. It really does. It really does. Matt Houston.
I'll tell you this story right quick. And a lot of people don't know about this one. But you mentioned Impact earlier. I'm gonna go a little further back. This was probably 96 or 7. I was refereeing on a show in Gastonia, North Carolina. Main event was Barbarian and Rob Van Dam. Scotty Riggs, who him and Van Dam really tight, came to the show with Chris Cruz, who was an announcer for WCW at the time.
Me and him got heat, but we'll get to that in a minute.
You and the Crispy Cruiser?
Yes, sir.
Crispy got heat. So, an intermission, they come back to the back and they're talking, and Chris comes up to me and he said, "Brother, you are the best referee I have ever seen in my life. Take my card. Get me a tape. I guarantee you a job at WCW." Now this goes back to we were talking about knowing our place, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was a very good referee. I really was. Probably better referee than I am a wrestler, to be honest with you. But I wanted to wrestle, and I didn't want to referee. I wanted to wrestle. And so I took his card and stuck it back in his pocket and said, "No, thank you. I want to wrestle." And he gives it back to me. He said, "Well, at least think about it." And Johnny Lightning, who had worked earlier on the card, was like, he couldn't believe Turn that down. But then, a couple months later, I was like, man, I should probably do that. At least get my foot in the door,
Right.
And I ran into Chris at Cook Flea Market there in Winston-Salem, and he had just got released. So I kick myself in the rear end every day for that one. So I could have been in WCW. I'm not trying to compare myself with Charles Robinson, but I could have been Little Nate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, I think with your old school style, man, you would have tore it up and made some memorable moments as a ref, man. But yeah, I got heat with that Chris Cruz because he be talking trash about Uncle George, Punky and Hoot, and Papa Boogie Man. You want to talk trash about somebody, talk trash about me, you rube. We just go back and forth all the time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I think he does it just to get heat.
Oh yeah, I think he
Just to
does
get,
too.
just to get a rise out of the boys.
You know, I when it comes to those guys, I'm gonna defend them whether they want me to or not. I'm always gonna any of you guys in the Mid-Atlantic. I'm always gonna defend whether we're friends or not. Especially you guys, y'all did so much for me, and again, I wouldn't be anywhere. Like we were talking about Shane Douglas earlier. You think I would have been ready to wrestle Shane Douglas one-on-one if I hadn't have got to learn them lessons from Matt Houston? You
No,
know, I wouldn't have been ready for that. And when I went to Shane Douglas and he was getting himself together, and I was like, Mr. Shane, how you been, man? Because I had to remind him who I was. He sees millions of people all the
oh
time.
yeah,
But he
oh
was
yeah.
like, I remember you, Boogie Kid. And I was like, that's what's up, man. I'll be over here with my stuff. And he was thinking that I was gonna sit over there and bug him while he's trying to get dressed. Nah, man. And he was like, and so it was time for me to go over there and keep my mouth closed and my ear open. And he was asking me questions. I was like, Mr. Shane, let me just stop you right here. Out of respect, if you tell me to jump, my job is to get as high as you need me to and cut a daggone backflip if necessary. So
Right.
he was like, kid, I went to Ric Flair with that same respect you gave me just now, and he crapped all over me. I'm going to do something special for you. And he cut this promo at the end of my match. And that to me was one of the biggest moments because Shane Douglas shared a piece of wrestling history with me that day.
Yeah, Shane's a class act, man. I really like Shane Douglas.
And yeah, man, you guys, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be where I am. So the
And you know what's
Mid-Atlantic,
awesome? You know what's awesome? Nobody can ever take that moment from you.
yeah,
That moment
man,
might not mean nothing to anybody else, but it means something to you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what wrestling will do.
absolutely.
Wrestling will give you those moments that one night we were doing I want to say it was either a tag or 8-man. Anyway, I was in the ring with Barb. And it's the very start of the match. And Barb and I lock up, right? And Barb goes, "Take me to the corner, slam me, hit moonsault." I said, "Barb, it's the first spot of the that's the first spot of the match. I'm not going to do that." And he's like, "Come on." I'm like, no, no. But when you have those moments with these true legends, and guys that have made money and guys that you've watched for years, you know, they say don't meet your heroes, and in some cases that is true
Right.
because some people are different. They're one way on TV and they're a total douche in real life. I love Barb. Uncle Ivan, God rest his soul, man, one of the nicest people I have ever met in my life. Um, Ricky and Robert, man, I always enjoy working with them. Punky's hilarious. And when one of these guys walks into a locker room and they say, "I want to work with him," that means something, you know.
Absolutely.
And I've like I said, through the years, I've been able to share the ring with some guys, that I watched back in the day, and now I'm proud to call my friends. I mean,
Right.
Barb will text me every Christmas. You know, Punky will text me on Christmas, and I'll text him back, and I text Barb on his birthday. and that means something when you develop that bond and that friendship.
Absolutely. I got a relationship like that with Boogie and George, where we talk on a regular basis. And if I go a couple of days or weeks without messaging George, he goes, "Where'd you go?" He'll text me, "Where'd you go? Just was thinking about you." And then, we'll talk for a little bit. And I always, he always prays for me. Pony Johnson's another one too that I got a lot of respect for. And you know Pony, don't you?
I haven't had the privilege yet.
Man, Pony is like you guys. To me, you guys are George South guys. You know what I mean? Like, you just got that George South vibe. And you said, I was talking about how I intentionally left George out of my favorites on my first podcast because I was going to do a special tribute to show to George or whatever. But you say you don't meet your hero. George is my hero. Like, I inspire, like, the biggest compliment I ever got, and I'll put it over every time, is somebody compared me to George South because they said that's how easy I was to work with.
All right.
And they said you got a bag full of gimmicks, you're easy to work with, and you're not gonna have me out here doing all this crazy stuff. Back to where you guys taught me to know my place. You know what I mean? So that's very, very important. And just having respect. Can you like tell any listeners, any wrestlers, anybody that's green coming in, why respect is so important?
Exactly, because if you don't give somebody respect, they'll get it one way or another. Which reminds me, well, but we done a lot of talking, but I really hadn't done a lot of shooting. So let me pull out the big gun on this one.
All right.
I was running a company called the ASWA, All Star Wrestling Alliance in Lexington, and we had this kid come in, and I'm not gonna mention his name because I ain't gonna put him over.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm gonna bury him right now. He was okay. He's skin and bones, 120 pounds soaking wet. And he, like I said, he was okay. Again, depending on who you put him in the ring with. And he, I was the babyface champion, and I lost the strap to George, and I'm pursuing George now to get the belt back. And this is one of those guys that wanted to be in the main event, didn't know his place on the card. And so he wasn't really getting over. He claims he was getting over as a babyface. He went on a podcast a couple years ago and was burying me, saying that he was more over than I was. So I went and turned him heel, which was not the case. But I did turn. I mean, we did turn him heel, but people didn't really care for him to start with. And so I, and Lightning and myself at the time had just gotten done training some guys. Probably the most notable now would be Jebediah Hoskins, the Amish outlaw.
Yeah.
He was the backyard superstar at the time. Adam Awesome, and Adam had all the tools. Adam was a great worker. He would listen, good looking young kid, but then he got married, and that blew that. Ryan Marquet. I mean, we had probably 6 or 8 guys that we were putting on in front of a crowd on the shows, and so we joined the AIWF, became an AIWF affiliate, and this guy went and told all my trainees that I was going to quit using them because I had to use AIWF guys since I joined them. And they're all coming to me, panicking. And I'm like, no, don't listen to all that. You guys are still on the shows. Don't worry, And so we quit using this guy. Well, word gets around in wrestling. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. Telephone, telegraph, tele wrestler.
Yeah.
And
or his old lady.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And word was getting back to he was talking trash, and this goes back to the watch yourself on the way up because you'll meet him on the way back.
Hmm.
Uh, we had the opportunity to work with each other one night, and J.R. Jackson, who again was another tremendous referee,
Love
was
Jr.
refereeing the match, and we're in there working, and the more I thought about him talking all that trash, the madder I got. I stayed professional, and see, here's something else. People need to learn the difference between a shoot and a stretch or tightening up on somebody.
Hmm.
If I was going to shoot on him, he wouldn't have walked out of there. You know what I'm saying? I would have broke something. I would have broken an arm, broke a leg. I would have broke something. Um, but I tied him up in a pretzel where only he and I could be involved in the conversation. And I said, so I heard you've been talking all this trash and lying to my students, telling them that I was going to quit using them. And he's like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And JR broke kayfabe right there. JR got JR checking him to make sure he wasn't going to submit. And JR goes, yes, you did. Yes, you did. I'm like, JR, I'm probably mad. You're making me laugh, right? But so and then like I said, this kid was small. And I was going over in the match, and then he wanted to attack me afterwards and leave me laying. And I told him, I said, look, first off, if you're going to say something, say it in my face. We're both grown adults. And secondly, we're not going to do none of that stupid crap you was talking about before the match. You're going to leave me laying. I'm gonna hit you with the finish, and we're going home.
Right.
He's like, all right. So I let him up. We went to the finish, and I don't know if you've ever been in the Boys and Girls Club in High Point. But after you leave the arena part, you go back to the dressing room, and then there's a wall where you can go around either side, and the showers are back there. Well, I saw him probably, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes after that in the fetal position in the shower in the dark crying. So,
Good.
I mean, just don't talk trash about people. Be respectful. I mean, we can, again, just because you and I disagree on something, don't mean I can't like you and we can't be friends and we can't, be respectful of each other.
Right.
But that just blew my mind. How and he's still burying me to this day over that. Every well, I was
Brother, his
born
shovel ain't
anyway.
big enough.
Huh?
His shovel ain't big enough.
No, his show wasn't big enough to be burying that. But and like I say, I mean, I would mention his name just to bury him, but I'm not even going to mention it because I don't want to put him over. He's an idiot.
Hey, I mean you can, cause I might bury him with you.
So I ain't gonna do that. I don't want to give him any credit. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
don't want to give him any notoriety.
Now let me ask you this. Has there been in the 30 plus years you've been doing this, has there ever been anybody who tried to shoot on you or hurt you or take you out?
Not that I can recall. Not that I can recall. I do remember one night I was wrestling Gotti. We were in Roxborough, and the promoter came up to me before the show. We first worked each other. The promoter comes up to me before the show, and he's like, "Look, be careful in there with him tonight." And I've known him for years. I've known Gotti for years. And he's like, "Be careful with him tonight because he's like already hurt two of my trainees. Just being reckless with them." And I guess I let that get in my head, even though I'd known him for years. He went for an enziguri, and he threw the kick. I caught it. He went for the enziguri, and I turned my head to take it, and he actually kicked over my head. And I heard him say a few curse words, and he ducked, and I didn't duck. I turned.
Right.
And like I say, what the promoter said, just I guess I remembered it, and he went to do something, and I wrote him up in a small package, and I cinched up on it, right? And he got out of it, and I mean, right then I knew I said, crap, I'm in trouble. And we had it wasn't like, I mean, he didn't like hurt me, but he got my attention.
Yeah.
And that's probably really the only time that anything like that has ever happened, uh, in the ring. And I got the guts to admit and man enough to admit, yes, I figured he was going to hurt me.
Yeah.
At that moment. But like I said, I mean, it kind of blew over, and we finished the match. And other than that, I can't think of any incidents like that. I mean, and you know me, I mean, I'm not going there to try to hurt nobody, anyways.
Right.
And I didn't try to hurt this kid. I just kind of cinched up on him and tied him in a pretzel and said, "Look, here's the deal." So yeah, like I said, I mean, I can't think of anybody that really tried to shoot on me.
I was telling a story earlier of how like my ego got to me because I was getting to wrestle all these names until I got up to Caleb Conley, and he humbled me really fast. But he did it so professionally. He didn't shoot on me. He never threw one stiff shot. He worked with me so well, it made me realize why he was on TV and I wasn't. And I was
Right.
so sorry by the end of it. I didn't even know what to say, like, because I thought that I just knew everybody was putting me with this name or that guy or this guy. Man, it was back to back to back. So, when you get spoiled when you're still green, even though it don't
Yeah.
matter how many years you're in, if you got that mindset, you get spoiled and your ego gets you.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm thinking, yeah, I'm about to have one of those TV matches. Now I'm in here with Caleb, and like I'm telling you, it's about to this, and this. So I hang with him on the stick, and he gives me that nod, like, okay, well, let's see, can you do it in here? Because he was fed up, bro. He just came back from Impact, long flight. I'm running late. He has to do double duty, and I could just tell he was over it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then here my little halfway goofy tail comes strolling in here like, I got this idea. He was just like, nah, just do this and this, and we'll take care of the rest. You know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm thinking like, oh man, now I'm starting to realize what happened. When the music hits and we go through the curtain, I'm starting to realize what happened. And after what he said on the microphone, I know, like, oh dang, if I do the anything stupid, I'm gonna have to fight this boy. And Caleb's a tough guy,
Oh yeah.
and like, but he was so patient and so professional, and I was embarrassed, like, because he could have did whatever he wanted to in there with me, especially at the time. Just because I thought I was this, and this doesn't mean Caleb was on a completely different level. And, I didn't realize that until I got out there with him. And then, like, there's this thing, like, with wrestlers. First time it ever happened was when I got in the ring with you. I was talking about it earlier. You could feel somebody's presence when they're the real deal. When you're standing across the ring from somebody when they're the real deal.
Excuse me.
The first time it happened with you. The second time I realized it was real with Ooga Booga, and that time I realized with Caleb Conley, like, oh man, these guys were just being nice to me. He is fed up with my crap, but he worked with me so well and such a professional. And then when we got to the back, he was like, you did all right. You just need to get your crap together. And he walked away from me and didn't say anything else to me the rest of the day. And I was like so shocked and hurt. And I got about halfway home and then it hit me. I was like, he wasn't being a jerk. He wasn't at all.
Right.
It was me.
And that happens sometimes.
Yeah, man. Have you ever had any instances where you were accidentally humbled, or you got humbled? You humbled yourself, or
Working with George South.
that'll do it.
Working with George. I think we get so used to working with each other that we get comfortable and get complacent. and then you get in the ring with a real veteran like George, who even now in his 60s, I'm assuming, uh, can still work circles around everybody.
Right.
Um, and you learn real quick where you stand level wise when you get in the ring with George.
Big facts. I've seen, man, and when he had a bunch of students, you better do what George tell you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, first time I got to wrestle George, I had this. You remember the Yo Boy tag team, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't stand that guy. Well, I brought that back, but with a younger guy. It was one of Baron Bullard's boys, Devon Haley. He's
Yeah.
a real good kid. He's a real good student. He's one of George and Barron's kids and Trey G's kids. So I brought the Yo Boys back because it had traction. I had all the right tools with that idea. It was just I'm running with the wrong crowd. First time I get to work with George, I know this is his kid, but he knows me too. And he's known me for years. And he looks at me and he looks at the kid and he looks at Barron and he goes, I got these two tonight. and Barron goes, well, yeah, George, we're trying to build them up. They're the new team. And he was like, all right, good. He's like, Yellow, you come here. I'm like, yes, sir. Well, what do you need, George? He goes, now I'm going to work with you guys, okay? So just listen to me. Don't let your partner touch George. Under no circumstances is that boy allowed to touch George. And I was like, he said, now when he gets in the ring, I'll tag out. But if I'm in the ring with him at any point, it is your job, Yella, to make sure that kid does not touch George, no matter what. So I'm like the whole time, like, God, please don't screw this up. But I know what you mean by George, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
George will definitely teach you that you're not as great as you think you are.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean George, for all let's see how I can put this, and I'm not crapping on George because George is a true legend. He is a true veteran. But for all the people that dislike George, I think it's because they're not George. You know what I mean? Because again, at 60 plus, George can still outwork anybody. And I'll always have the utmost respect for George's ability.
Absolutely, man. It's just mindset. I remember you remember these. Get out there and do it again. You remember that, George?
Yep. Yep.
That wasn't it. You goof. Get out there and do it again. And that's what he did, and he meant that. And I'm sure Style was the same way.
Oh yeah.
Well, Matt, we're at the part of the show where we get into a couple of questions. That's okay with you. We'll kick this thing
Absolutely.
off with who is the most influential or the GOAT? Who's Matt Houston's favorite wrestler?
The all around package, Flair. On the stick, Hot Rod. Nobody could touch Piper, man. Piper and Lawler, if they were in a verbal joust, would be phenomenal. Eddie Gilbert, I always liked him. Very underrated. And Dick Murdoch, man. A lot. As a matter of fact, George, we were in a match one night and I did something, and George goes, all right, Dick Murdoch, come on now. and that name just stuck. Everybody called me Dick Murdoch after that. Yeah, those would probably be my favorites.
All right. That's dope, man. My next question is because we already went over your training. Who is your dream match? Like if you could have out of any time, this is your fantasy match right here, fantasy booking, any wrestler of any age in the prime, the best Matt Houston you could have been, who would that match be? Who would be your dream match at prime Matt Houston and prime whoever?
Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes. I can see that.
I would have loved to have worked with Dusty.
It'd have to be the blow off would have to be something like a bull rope. It would have
Right.
to be. I can see y'all right now beating the crap out of each other with them bunkhouse boots.
Oh yeah.
All right, and this
That would
is
have been
my
fun.
last but not least question. What going forward? Was kind of like a two-part question.
All right.
Will we ever see Matt Houston lace up a pair of boots again? And if we do, who would your ideal opponent be?
Never say never. Lewis and I have actually been kind of talking about that. And my wife's trying to kick me out of the house on weekends now too. She, so never say never. You may see the Mid Atlantic Outlaws again. I don't know. Like I said, I'm tag team wrestling. I would love to work with the Heat Seekers. Lewis and I have wrestled them a couple of times. Always had good matches with them. The Dawson brothers always had good matches with them. So either one of them, or anybody that wants a piece of the Outlaws.
Man, that's awesome. That's good news for me, because if you're coming back with the Outlaws, that means I'm gonna have to find me a partner and a good one. Maybe I might get on the horn with Jimmy Love or something and be like, hey, we're gonna take these guys to Love Street, USA, baby. I got my singlet in there. Mine say Jimmy Love too.
I heard that.
Yeah, man, that would be great, man. It's awesome to see you doing your thing. Where can we catch Matt Houston coming up? Any kind of dates that you got going forward? Like, what's going on with Matt Houston in wrestling world now?
You know me, I love to book. And I'm very creative. I love to book. I'm helping AIWF Mid Atlantic right now. I am their co-commissioner. Me and Seth Burns. Seth Burns. Right. Yeah, he's a pistol. But we're kind of having to share the duties of commissioner, and he doesn't work well with others.
I seen that he was being a real thorn in your side not long ago.
Oh yeah. But we'll be back in Mount Airy on February 28th with the Battle Chamber, which is AIW's version of the Elimination Chamber. So that should be very interesting. Then, of course, I'm just the NCWA commissioner, and the Ivan Koloff Memorial Tag Team Tournament this year takes place on Saturday, June 6th, in Benson, North Carolina, at the National Guard Armory. So I'm looking forward to that. Main event, and then you're getting an exclusive. Just cut the promo for it last night. We haven't released it yet, so you're getting an exclusive. Main event, C.W. Anderson defends the NCWA championship against PCO in a cage.
Oh my goodness, man. All my homies, y'all hear that? Where's this at again?
At the National Guard Armory in Benson, North Carolina.
Make sure y'all go. Show my people some love. Make sure y'all go. It's going to be a wild event. Man, you guys always kill it with them shows. Much love and respect for y'all for keep on letting the Koloff name live. Like keeping that name alive. That means a lot to us at BWC too, at Boogie's Wrestling Camp, because he was a big part of our camp. And we just love Uncle Ivan and his family. So that means a lot to us that you guys do that. And we appreciate that on our half.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's our pleasure.
Now, in closing, is there any advice that you want to give any newer wrestlers, any greenhorns out there that's pursuing this, or heck, any veterans that's still hungry and out here willing to learn and get this thing done?
Work hard. Don't forget the fans are the ones paying the money to see the show. So make sure you work for the fans and not try to pop the boys in the back. And remember, like I said earlier, you got 2 of these, 1 of these. Listen twice as much as you speak. You'll learn something.
Hey, y'all heard it from the legend himself, the AIWF Hall of Famer, the ASW Hall of Famer, 2-time Hall of Famer, Matt Houston. We just want to say thank you for talking shoot with Yellow Man. We love you, my brother. You any big shout outs you want to give to anybody right quick?
Old school mafia, man. Lewis, Drake, and Jimmy. Johnny Lightning, my brother from another mother. Yellow Man, I love you, brother. Big Money. Josh Vallon, that's another kid that's come a real long way since he first
Love
started.
Josh.
Excuse me, I think I'm coming down with something. And just if you've got the guts to get in the ring, man, I got mad respect for you. Some guys are better than others, some girls are better than others, but it's like that way in real life. People have different talents. Don't let anybody deter you from wanting to live your dream. And see you guys down the road, man. Love you guys.
Hey, y'all heard it from the legend, Matt Houston, the outlaw, the Manaconda. Always remember this. Keep it real. And as Yellow would do, keep it gangster and do 3 things. Wild on them, style on them, and shake up the room. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time for another episode of Talking Shoot with Yellow Man. Matt Houston, stay on the line with me right quick.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Man,
we will see y'all
this
next
internet
time.
thing is
Oh,
so boring.
yeah.
There's nothing to do. There's nothing to look at, nothing interesting, no good content.
Hey, are you nuts? Huh? Hey, what's up, Big M?
Hey, Boogie.
Hey, man, check out, listen, Jimmy Valiant dot Weebly.com.
That's 2 dots.
2 dots.
Wow.
Weebly, W-E-E-B-L-Y. Is that right?
Yeah.
Jimmy Valiant, one word, dot Weebly.com.
Boogie, this is amazing. This is exactly what I was looking for. www.jimmyvaliant.weebly.com. And search for the comic strip. That's my favorite part. I love the internet now.
Oh, yeah.
My lovely wife, Miss Angel Valiant, AWW, Angels Wrestling Wear. She did this whole outfit on me. My goodness, she could do anything. Masks, bandanas, hey, you name it, tights, trunks, robes. Captain Joe, come here, Cap.
Made this whole outfit to me. Yeah, look at that, look at that. Look at that, man. Look at
Captain
that.
Joe, baby. Hey, she can do anything. Hey, give her a call.
For all your pro wrestling gear needs, visit angelswrestlingwear.weebly.com. If you can dream it, Angel can make it.
Be there, and she'll do you well. Yeah.
As I alluded to before, special events, bring outs on special occasions, offer special opportunities. This is one. The team of Trevor Lee and Ben Tyler, I would say formerly known as the Fun Athletic Guys. I would say they're kind of past that whole gimmicky stage of their career, moving on to something a little more special and focusing on their wrestling, taking on the established tag team of the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, Matt Houston and Lewis Moore, and we are glad to have them, and we are proud to present this match. Nick D, what's your take on this whole thing?
Well, see, personally, I'm a fan of Ben Tyler and Trevor Lee. The Fun Athletic Guys, whether or not they're going by the Fun Athletic Guys or not, definitely a great tag team. One of my personal favorites. But the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, really don't know too much about them, so this should be a good matchup tonight.
I can't say much. I've been in the ring with all 4 guys, and Matt Houston and Lewis Moore are about as wily and cagey as they get. And on top of it, they are fantastic wrestlers, as you could tell by those 2 arm drags from Matt Houston on Trevor Lee, the Mid-Atlantic television champion, we may add.
Definitely. You know, Trevor Lee, I noticed when I first came here as a fan, Trevor Lee has a lot of charisma. And like I said before, I've said it again all night, I see big things in store for Trevor Lee in 2013.
Trevor Lee locking up Matt Houston in a side headlock. Good move. Houston fires him off, takes the tackle from Trevor Lee. Trevor poses a little bit. Little action. There's another arm drag. Picture perfect. There's a second one, a Japanese flavor, and a third arm drag. If Trevor Lee did not get arm dragged out of his wrestling boots on that occasion, it's never going to happen.
Definitely. Trevor Lee, has a lot of charisma, and sometimes that can come to play badly in a matchup like this, or especially with two experienced tag team wrestlers as the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws. You definitely got to watch your back and make sure. Luckily, they got William Cross at ringside, so they should be all right.
You're right, and Ben Tyler suffers the same fate as Trevor Lee right there. Arm drag from Matt Houston. Lewis Moore up to the middle rope. Drops a fist right on the elbow joint. The problem right now, the transitioning from young wrestler to veteran wrestler, which Trevor Lee and Ben Tyler are sort of in the process of, is using their antics to distract. Right now, it's costing them. When you get in there with a tag team like Lewis Moore and Matt Houston, they can get in your head using similar antics, but they know how to take advantage of it.
Well, definitely. When you were young, you like to have fun. When you're dealing with more experienced wrestlers, like the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, who are a great tag team, you got to stay more on your focus at the task at hand, and that's to accomplish and get the win.
Nice hip toss and an arm drag from Lewis Moore, controlling Ben Tyler. Lewis Moore probably outweighs him by about 35 pounds, and it's probably about 5 inches taller, so he's taking full advantage. Lewis Moore, one of those kids. He was in the same situation as Trevor Lee and Ben Tyler several years ago. In the same scenario, a young wrestler taking on a veteran, and when he took me on, he says he learned a lot from it. Never arm dragged me like that, though. I'm gonna tell you what, Nick.
Well, definitely, you can tell that, Lewis Moore has definitely learned a lot from, being in the ring a lot more. And you can tell he's learned a lot, too, from Matt Houston. So definitely, the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, definitely you can tell they're definitely veterans in this business.
Oh, Lewis Moore, definitely a student of the game, is essentially studied under Matt Houston, George South, Manny Fernandez, Terry Funk, the type of almost a Texas-style wrestler right here in the Mid-Atlantic. Matt Houston back to the arm of Trevor Lee. The Outlaws controlling right now.
You can hear William Cross giving directions from the outside. I think, you mark my words on this, Corey, I think William Cross will definitely play a hand in this matchup tonight. He
may. I would almost say that Cross is almost too arrogant to really know about Matt Houston and Lewis Moore. If I was the manager and advisor of Ben Tyler and Trevor Lee, they'd know everything about these guys. Ben Tyler on the outside trips up Matt Houston, but gets a right hand for it, and Matt Houston gets soccer kicked.
See, that's where the youth comes into play. Definitely got the distraction. Definitely distracted Matt Houston. Ben Tyler with the distraction. Trevor Lee with the kick. I think the tides are about to change.
And I'll give you credit. Cross was probably the one that set that whole thing up. You're right. Trevor Lee taking in some adulation, then some not from the fans here in Gibsonville. Covers him 2 count only. You're not going to beat a guy like Matt Houston like that. Rear chin lock now on Matt Houston. Trevor Lee actually positioned himself where he could use a little bit of extra leverage there from William L. Cross to try to cut off the wind to Matt Houston. Very few times do you see a guy beaten with this hold, but it'll definitely wear you down. It set up opportunities later in the match. Houston takes off, catches a drop kick right to the face from Trevor Lee.
Trevor Lee reminds me of a WWE superstar in Dolph Ziggler. Definitely has that charisma, but definitely knows how to wrestle. So definitely, I see a lot of shades of Dolph Ziggler in the young Trevor Lee.
That's a fair point. Of course, at Battlecade, he took care of Dolph Ziggler's former tag team partner, Brad Attitude. So there may be more to that connection than you realize. So you set that whole thing up, didn't even know where you were going with it.
Definitely didn't know, but definitely, as you can see, Trevor Lee's on the outside too, keeping. And William Cross, again, is still, I told you, William Cross is definitely going to play a hand in this matchup right now.
Using the distracted referee to their advantage. They're young wrestlers, but they're a very good tag team. And have definitely been able to put it all together with the direction of William L. Cross as they join the Aftermath. Probably not in the best spirits with Rick Converse after, some of the events of late, but they're still a unit, so.
Definitely. I do see dissension in the Aftermath, but, as an Aftermath fan as well, I could be PR for the Aftermath if I do say so myself. I definitely think that we're able to work things out, smooth things over. Once Rick Converse, gets here and, settles everybody down, I think
that's
they'll be
what they got Cross for, Nick. Why do you need to do that?
Hey, because, see, that's why I said I could do it. William Cross, I told him, I tried to hit him on the Twitter, he didn't respond back, so it's okay. On Twitter.
I don't know what that is. I know we have one at CWF Mid-Atlantic if you want to follow us on Twitter. CWF247.com, YouTube.com, / CWF Mid-Atlantic. You want to keep up with us.
And definitely like us on Facebook, too.
Like us on Facebook. They don't have a love option, so right now you can only like us. But if you love us, let us know. We'd like that, too. Matt Houston firing up a right hand to the gut, one to the face. Ben Tyler with a roundhouse kick to the chest stops that momentum. Small package from Ben Tyler, 2 count only. Matt Houston's down. He looks hurt, but he's not out. If I was Ben Tyler, I wouldn't be playing with him. You never play with a guy with blackjack mulligan trunks.
Definitely not. I told you, a veteran like Matt Houston, you could tell the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws are here for business. You've got Trevor Lee on the outside, antagonizing the fans, not paying attention to Ben Tyler in the ring. It may come back to haunt him in this match.
Super kick from Matt Houston as Nick D was talking. Nick, sorry to cut you off, but Matt Houston just did a super kick. Somebody forgot to remind him he's not 25 years old anymore. Matt Houston trying to make his way to the corner. He's going to have to make the tag to Lewis Moore if they have any hopes of winning this match. Ben Tyler's got it together, makes the tag to Trevor. Here comes Trevor, tag to Lewis Moore. Catches Trevor with a big right hand. Ben Tyler takes one. 3 jabs and a right hand takes Trevor down in the middle. Ben Tyler with a boot to the gut catches Lewis, shoots him in, reversal. Lewis throws the clothesline, Tyler ducks it, ducks the elbow, jumping knee, Harley Race style. Trevor Lee also a big fan of that jumping knee. Oh, kick to the chest. Trevor Lee was going for it, but Lewis Moore caught him with a spine buster.
That spine buster reminded me of the Orrin Anderson spine buster that he made famous. So definitely you can tell.
Mine's better. That's an inside joke. They're up there. Oh, leg drop. Looks like the old school revolver, but a little more deadly. The Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, they got this one. Matt Houston had the cover. He had the 3, and Ben Tyler broke it up.
Definitely, that's where the young experience of Trevor Lee and Ben Tyler comes into play. You've got veterans who know how to put the maneuver together, but because you're youth and you're more experienced, you're more young, you know how to put things together as well.
Inverted DDT from Ben Tyler sends Lewis Moore to the floor. Trevor Lee's off on the side. Matt Houston catches him in the middle. Boots him. Slams him. Oh, Nick D, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat because here it comes. The Arabian press from Matt Houston. He got him too. No!
Expired. 5 minutes remain.
Matt Houston just did an Arabian press. He's channeling his 25-year-old self.
I cannot tell Matt Houston. He's definitely, like you said, a young Matt Houston in this matchup tonight.
Sunset, there's that jumping knee. 1, 2, he got him. Ben Tyler and Trevor Lee pick up a huge win over the Mid-Atlantic Outlaws, Matt Houston and Lewis Moore.
Good distraction. 1, 2, 3.